We're back in session after a break. And Brigitte Grabowski is with us online. Welcome, Brigitte. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. And see. You seem to be sitting in front of a waterfall.
Yeah, that's my backdrop. I work a lot from home and I need a decent backdrop for conference calls.
You have the floor. Tell us what you want to tell us.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to allow me to speak to you today. So as mentioned before, my name is Brigitte Grabowski, and my husband and I have been living here at Ahia Rue Road for the past 10 years. I'm here to Ahia Rue Road. That's Ahia Rue Road. That's down from Stonehenge.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Just didn't quite catch that.
Yeah. So I'm here to express my strong opposition to the proposal to limit the speed on nearly all the sealed roads in the Carterton district area to 80. You know, we are in the 21st century and motor vehicles have never been as safe as they are today. And if you compare the Carterton area to most of the other areas in New Zealand, our roads are pretty straight and pretty flat. So that raises for me the questions, why are we talking about limiting the speed on our rural roads? And first thing is, okay, maybe NZTA is somewhere behind the scenes, but they never have met a speed limit they didn't want to reduce or a passing line they didn't want to remove. And the other option that I see is the desire to limit the road toll to a 0 road toll, which is never going to happen because there are always some idiots on the road. So in my book, the approach for reducing accidents and the impact of accidents is actually not reducing the speed. While speed's often regarded as the main driving factor in accidents, I actually know from own experience that a lot of the accidents are caused by insufficient following distance, inadequate driver training, and the desire to get around potholes or uneven edges on the roads that pull you into the ditch. So for me, the general speed limit here in New Zealand is 100, and it's my belief that sealed roads should be maintained to that standard. So the blanket 80 kilometer, which is essentially a blanket 80 kilometer limit, seems a bit arbitrary. And it's really going to inconvenience the locals more than just the tourists that are driving through. By increasing our travel time and actually making going via State Highway 2 a valid option, which means we are driving straight through Carterton, which then will lead to congestion, putting pedestrians and pets more at risk because more cars are going through. So not necessarily a desirable option even for the people living in town. And I mean, don't get me started on State Highway 2 with the one-lane traffic so that emergency vehicles have to travel 2 or 3 additional kilometers to go to some houses. Or a slow driver blocking the whole traffic for everybody because you can't overtake anymore. But so anyway, that was around the 80. The other point that I have is the 30 kilometer on Gladstone Road. I'm not sure why it's there. I assume it's probably for the sports field, but the sports field is set so far back that it doesn't really impact on the road and people are there only rarely. So why put a speed limit there on 30? The other one is speed limits around schools. I'm okay with that, but only when children are present. So, you know, Monday through Friday from 8 till 9 and 2:30 till 3:30. but not during school holidays, so only when school's in session. Because those speed limits, if they are there 24/7, what you do is you get to the place, you hit your brakes, you go slowly through, then you speed up. So it's a higher fuel consumption. It is actually additional noise for the people that are living there, and it can lead to accidents because in the middle of the night, if the car in front of you brakes to 30, you have to hit the brakes hard too. So that's on the 30 stuff. And then sealed roads. I use sealed roads regularly, and in my experience, unsealed roads regularly. In my experience, most people driving on those ones are driving to the conditions. They know how fast they can go with their vehicle, with their tires, with their experience. So I don't really see the necessity for putting a speed limit onto sealed roads. So to summarize that, while I think the intention behind the proposed speed management is to enhance road safety, I don't think that the proposed speed limits will in effect actually deliver that solution. I think we need to look at a more comprehensive approach that includes things like improved driver training, better road management, so put roundabouts where bad crossroads are, or stuff like that, and also look at other critical factors. I think that would be more beneficial and lead to a better outcome. And also not inconvenience, us, the local people that have to live with these speed limits every day. So yeah, thank you for making the time.
Oh, thank you. We have any questions from the panel?
Yeah, I've just got one question. Thanks very much for your presentation and taking the time to submit to this. You say about the 30K on Gladstone Road. Now, I'm a little bit confused there. I know that we have looked at the Marae and the sports field, and there's a hotel there in the middle. Is this the area you're talking about?
Yes, so it is that sports field, and then there is the Glady pub and the bridge.
Yeah, okay. And then on up to the Marae, which is 40K, correct me, is that right?
I just want to go there, but we have, I can just clarify around them. Firstly, schools will have the arrival signage, so it will only be during pick-up and drop-off times, not during the holidays. And then on Gladstone Road, I think it will also be arrival at the Marae, and then the rest of Gladstone Road is, I believe, at 80. I think that's going back there now.
Yeah, but the same thing on the applies around the Marae. I drive the Gladstone Road very often because I'm a member of the pistol club there, and I don't see often people there. It's there is more traffic going in and out of the vineyard than that. So again, my point.
So just for clarification, the 30K will be of arrival sign, so that will just be during events. So whether that's a funeral or something where there's a mass gathering, for the rest of the time it will be at 80 kilometers an hour.
Okay, yeah, if it is variable, so if you intend to do a variable speed limit around that, then I'm okay with that. It's just I didn't see that when I read the paper. I must have skipped over it if it was in there. Sorry for that, but if it is only limited to times when there are gatherings, when there are people, when there are risk factors, then that is fine for me.
I would just acknowledge, Brigitte, it isn't very clear in the plan. It can be mistaken that it's permanent, so that's my apology for that. But I can assure you, we wouldn't have a permanent 30 on Gladstone Road.
Okay, now that sounds good.
Thank you.
All right, anything from anybody else? Thanks, Brigitte. Appreciate your,
Thanks.
appreciate your input.
Yep,
Yes.
thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Stephen.
Yes.
You're up.
Hi, Stephen Butcher, President.
Take a seat over here.
Okay, so the rules are you get 7 minutes and then we have 3 minutes to ask you what, anything that's not clear. So you have the floor.
Sure, thank you. Okay, Stephen Butcher, I'm resident at Gladstone. I did put in a submission, which seems to have been lost in the post of the digital variety. So I have copies here of my submission, if I could. It's with you.
Yeah. Oh,
Thank you. So I don't know what happened there, but thank you for allowing me to submit today. Now that section of road at Gladstone, north of the Gladstone School, I think the proposed limit is 80 k's on that. So I'd like to draw your attention to two factors. The first factor is the school, naturally. The second factor is the 4 fatalities along that section of road. So we've had 2 motorcyclists killed in a collision with a tourist, and 1 motorcyclist killed in a head-on collision with a car, and a 4th motorcyclist killed due to excess speed. So I think these statistics show an average speed of around 83, and the proposed speed reduction to 80, I think, is insufficient considering the nature of the hazards along that section of road. So what I'm suggesting is that a viable alternative may be for a greater speed restriction over a shorter distance. I think in summary that the history of that area behooves the council to do better than their current proposal. Thank you.
just give us a moment. We'll just
Yes, you're
read this and then we'll see what.
I'll start with a question. So you're saying that at the moment that our proposal is to reduce it obviously to 80, and you're looking for a shorter area from, say, the Tiwara turn off, is it, to the Gladstone School, a shorter, more concise from sort of down the bottom of the hill by Brooklands there to the school.
Yes, there's also the Urupa here.
Yeah, up on top. So it would basically go to the memorial or the Tiwara Road turn off.
Personally, I think just before the S-bend, where traffic is starting to slow anyway. I think if it goes down towards the memorial, it's too far away and more of an annoyance for drivers. I would rather have a speed limit that was practical and of a duration that's not going to annoy people. I think that stands a better chance of succeeding.
And your suggestion for that speed limit?
60k.
60k.
Yes. I am mindful that traffic does travel faster than posted speeds by about 10k. So I think that 60k limit would end up being about 70k in practice. And I think too that local residents currently are having a great deal of difficulty getting out of their driveways because the country is a rolling landform, and the amount of visibility or the amount of warning that you have of approaching vehicles is actually quite restricted. I think the 60 would in reality be a 70k limit for most vehicles, and that would provide an improvement in safety and a fighting chance for residents to get out of their properties.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You obviously know quite a lot about this stuff, because a W16.1 or W16.4, what are they?
Sorry, it is a while since I wrote that. So
Pedestrian signs?
yes, I think one is the school sign, the children's sign. I'm sorry, I've completely forgotten what the other one is.
Okay.
Yeah. But there are signs available in the toolkit that warn drivers of pedestrians on the road. So we're talking there about Brooklands Road, I think, rather than Defetti Road.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, so I'm suggesting there that rather than posting an actual number, we just have a warning sign that that says that, you know, just to be on the watch out for people walking along there. Sorry if I'm speaking too quietly.
No, it's not good. Do you have anything from?
Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay.
If you could send me the electronic paper,
Yes, can I take it, Stephen?
I'll let you know.
Sure.
Chair, just while we're still in the meeting, I wonder if there were any questions you've got of management, given that management's here. Otherwise,
Availed ourselves as Johannes's knowledge as things cropped up, but things that people have.
Grace has got a hand up.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'll have a question for Johannes. The gentleman just then who mentioned alternatives to speed signs, is that something that is appropriate or commonly done?
It's I would probably advise against it. The only reason is that it's like the noise signs. It's really advisory, and it's really hard to enforce. Well, you can't enforce it. There's nothing to enforce. The other challenges is there's so much with temporary traffic management and just road furniture. There's so many signs out there that drivers that drive areas regularly get numb to it. So there's no issue in putting up a pedestrian ahead sign and those kind of things, but really we would probably need to put a sign up on that in all of our areas outside of town and inside of town, because that's the nature, like people walk around. So yeah, I think if we want to make areas safer, then it's probably the best tool, or our part of that equation is putting the appropriate speed limit in, and then obviously police to play their part in enforcing those speed limits.
Okay, Grace? Still got your hand up, but that's the same question. Okay.
Maybe Mike, just say what we're going to attempt with for the deliberation. So similar to what we did previously, we'll work through the deliberation or the submissions and take into consideration what we heard today. And then where there's alignment, we'll put those forward. And then when there's issues where there's contention, then we'll probably put that up for decision as well, and try and consolidate so that we focus on areas that there's the most agreement on, and then present that to you. And yes, that's probably the best that we can do. We've got quite a variety of views. There's a few consistent themes, but in terms of percentage-wise of the numbers that's submitted, those clusters are quite small. But we will highlight those common themes, even, and maybe the numbers that's connected to that.
Yeah, I mean, even this morning with relatively few numbers of people who turned up to submit some divergence of views.
Yes.
And that's the challenge. There's some people that's going to be for a change in their area. Unfortunately, people aren't familiar. They focus on the area that they're familiar with or that they operate in, and they don't necessarily consider the other part of the network. So we get a percentage of views on a percentage of the network. So yeah,
And whatever we come up with has to make sense for the whole. Otherwise, every 10 kilometres, you get a completely different set of circumstances, and that's.
And for all road users, I totally understand the issue around engine braking, because I have forestry trucks going past my place at 2 a.m. in the morning as well. They're not the only road users. And so if we slow road down because of one of the road users, all of the other road users who aren't the problem, then also are impacted. So I think it's a challenging issue, particularly where it is, as Johannes was pointing out earlier, some of this comes down to driver behaviour. It's not actually around the condition of the road or the ability of.
I think what's tripping us up is when we're making focused changes. So if you're making focused changes, you're not being consistent across the network. So if we're trying to be consistent, then we need to address all the roads with the similar characteristics. However, that view is definitely not supported by the wider community. So it's always going to be. It's always going to be subjective to, there's going to be those that really want to change, and some are not going to agree with that change.
Chief, quick question. When you said road users, like trucks and cars, road users also include cyclists and pedestrians. And
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And, I think in terms of our roading policy for those users that are not actually on the tar sealed or the gravel road, we don't really have a policy around providing footpaths and access ways and line paths for them when it is a rural road at an open road speed limit. They're mostly concentrated around our urban areas.
I think there's a general road user behaviour that's important. So when I drive in my vehicle and I see an uncomfortable scenario approaching, whether it's a truck or a horse or whatever, I will try and slow down or pull over. That's the behaviour that I choose to take. And I think the road users need to take a pragmatic approach, that if they feel if there's a risk approaching, that they need to take action. And then there's the opposite of the side of the spectrum, where we need to respect the other road users as well. So not drive excessively fast when you see a family walking there with kids next to the road. It's basic stuff.
Yeah.
It's a bit like the culverts, isn't it? The fact that a lot of them, it's not possible for two trucks to pass. Well, the truck drivers know that. One of them will slow down. And there's a limit to how much safety you can build into rural roads without.
I was explaining to Johannes a little while ago, I was coming down Park Road past Hammond Spreading, and the Hammond Spreading trucks are, they've got double axle on the rear wheel, and Park Road is relatively narrow anyway, so the Hammond Spreading truck was heading south and towards Carterton and was overtaking a tractor. And that was also heading south, and there was just nowhere for them to go, right? So they were both on over the side of the road. I think you're right. We can't cater for every situation.
They were using all the seal and some more.
They were, yeah, exactly.
Just another thought, especially I'm looking at Gladstone and those sort of little rural outposts. When you drive around the country and you come across these little dairy settlements that had a dairy factory and a store and a half a dozen 40-acre farms, and you sort of naturally slow down. Well, I do, because I'm nosy probably. And it's just a safety thing that I do. I'm just wondering whether the likes of Gladstone, we can turn it into a rural precinct type thing, with big Gladstone signs up or something.
I mean, we did look at that cluster when we considered the speed review. So basically from the Marae over past the Gladiator Sports Club, the rifle range, and you come around, turn left, you've got the school, that area. So that whole area is slowing down. But only to 80 k's again, and you could through safe and appropriate speed approach, you could probably justify lower speeds. But again, from the previous consultation, that's where we kind of landed with that seemed palatable by the community. If you want to go further than that to make it a place, then there's probably merit in that, probably closer to that Gladstone area. I don't think it's dense enough from the Marae all the way. So, but that's something totally different, making it a place.
Yeah, one of the overriding things I think is that we can't set rules for anything that most people are going to break most of the time. We have to put people into a position where if they behave normally and rationally, that they're not actually committing a crime. So I guess what's in the back of the mind is if we set speed limits relatively or lower than most people think is reasonable, no one will observe them. So there has to be a degree of reasonability. We're probably.
I think Grace is frozen.
Was that? No, I was
Frozen.
sorry.
It's all right. The internet's probably a bit rubbish after the thunderstorms yesterday. So
No, I was just nodding vigorously at Steve's comments. I totally agree. That's in the back of my mind as well. We want to make sure that nothing that we do is going to be encouraging people to just be constant rule breakers. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we're in a position to close this meeting. No exclusion of the public, looking at item 9. So that brings us to item 10, the Karakia Whakamutunga. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.